put together a little lesson which I call simple hacks for hip replacements. The posterior hip replacement, represented by this orange piece of tape, the movements that we're not supposed to do is to cross our leg, or to internally rotate the leg, or to do both, like this. The lateral hip replacement, we are not supposed to be crossing midline. And then the anterior hip replacement, we are not supposed to be taking the hip into hyperextension. So to do a safe instruction for these types of hip replacements, starting with the anterior, I would want to instruct my person with this type of hip replacement to have the femur bone lined up with the pelvis so that it is not behind pelvis like so. This would be a hyperextension. The reason is that the femur is pressing against the scar line. So I have the scar lines represented by the orange tape. So if the femur is pushing toward the scar line, that is a less stable position for the hip. And especially if we're teaching a yoga or Pilates or strength training class wherein we're doing something like a runner's stretch, even a dancer pose, to have that pressure of the hip forward could result in a dislocation of the hip replacement. The lateral one, same idea. If we cross midline, you can see how the femur bone is pushing out against the incision line. And then the familiar posterior approach. This is why we don't want to cross midline, because if we cross midline and internally rotate, that's actually the direction that they removed the original hip. So the scar line is here and the femur is pressing against the scar line. This position, right, external rotation and abduction, or taking the leg away, is safe for all three. I hope that helps you to understand and make some decisions about what yoga poses, Pilates exercises, stretches, and movements we may need to be more cautious with for people who've had the different types of hip replacements.